Okay, this is every Resident Evil game playable on 3DS without streaming. Let's make this quick. For starters, you got Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, all of which can be emulated on 3DS if you have a modded console. I played 3DS for a bit using PCSX Reloaded, and while I didn't get too far into it, it seemed playable enough for the most part. As for Resident Evil 1, Deadly Silence also exists, which is an original DS port of that game. I played that too just a tiny bit, and it works fine enough, especially considering that aiming is done with a D-pad. Plus, that version has little mini games woven into it, so you can enjoy those as well. Resident Evil Survivor should also be emulatable too, so hey, if you want to play that, you can, and if I remember correctly, it should work okay, but don't quote me on that as PS1 emulation on 3DS is still a bit mixed. Also, if you wanted to, you could emulate the N64 version of RE2 just for the sake of having more options. Neither Code Veronica or Survivor 2 are playable on 3DS, as no Dreamcast or PS2 emulation is at all possible. Now, could that change in the future? I wouldn't hold your breath. The 3DS could never emulate a PS2, but of course, Dreamcast is a more interesting question. DC emulation is taking off for the PS Vita, however, that's still in its early stages, and while it might be possible to have some sort of DC emulation on 3DS, I'm sure it would be extremely bare bones and a pretty poor experience. So again, don't hold your breath. Interestingly enough, Resident Evil Gaiden is playable on 3DS in part due to Game Boy Color emulation working as a charm. Whether it be through modding the Virtual Console or some sort of third-party emulator, I have no doubt that Gaiden runs fine as the 3DS runs GBC games perfectly. Hell, you could even play that cancelled RE1 port for the GBC if you wanted to on 3DS. Unfortunately, we skip over the RE1 remake as well as RE4, which I think could have been great 3DS games. Seeing as RE4 ended up everywhere else, one of those places being iOS, I'm surprised we never saw a 3DS port. Not even as a new 3DS exclusive, just no 3DS at all. And as already stated, no RE1 remake either, which even if it lacked 3D support due to its static image backgrounds, I think it still could have made for a fun 3DS experience. And finally, we make our way to, in my opinion, the most interesting RE games in this video, those being Mercenaries 3D and Revelations. Both of these are the most advanced and in my opinion the most fun RE games available on the 3DS currently. I've made videos on them both, one being a comparison and the other being a direct review. Mercenaries is mostly just a side mode expanded on, while Revelations is a full-fledged RE game with a main campaign plus raid mode, which is super fun. And that's it for Resident Evil games playable on 3DS. There's nothing else made beyond Revelations 1, which is too bad. Like I said, I think it would have been great to get RE4 on 3DS or the RE1 remake, but unfortunately we got no such thing. Still though, in terms of RE, the 3DS does have a good amount of stuff on offer here, and in total, there are 7 games fully playable through one way or another. Check out the Sponc the Spork movie, the link is in the description. And as a matter of fact, I've just begun work on Act 3.